afternoon. We'll now be speaking about opportunities in fresh or freshish, youngish markets, offshore renewables markets. And to talk about that, I'd like to ask Laura ŠTROVALDE, Gonçalo SANTOS, Adriana VARGAS-COLWILL and Fernanda GUEDES to join me on stage, please. Good afternoon. Can you all grab a microphone? Thank you. So, Laura ŠTROVALDE, you are a Deputy Director General, Director of Investment Promotion and Business Growth Department at the Investment and Development Agency of Latvia. Hello.
Yes, correct. Hello.
Correct. The Baltics will soon get their feet wet. Can you talk us through what's planned in Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania, please?
Yes, well, there are currently many projects in the pre-development and development stage. So basically we kind of tapped into the offshore game a few years ago. It all started in Latvia and Estonia with one joint project. Our agency is also responsible of from the Latvian side. It's joint Elven project, which we are developing together with Estonians. So basically it's a hybrid. Two parks will be pre-developed by both countries, and they will be connected with interconnectors. So that's one huge project between the two countries. Estonians have several other projects going on. They did one auction, and next auctions are in the pipeline this and the next year. Lithuanians have auctioned out one park, a bit more than 600 megawatts. And this autumn, they will announce the next winner, so to say, for the next park. So in Lithuania, there currently is a CFD mechanism. Estonians have postponed a bit their plans on the CFD. And in Latvia, we have currently announced the green channel for wind park developments, but no CFD yet. But of course, we'll see how it will go. And meanwhile, of course, also there are a lot of projects within the hydrogen and sustainable aviation fuel, so to create this hub which can then also support this surplus that will be created in all Baltic countries. Because actually we are good at generating energy, green energy. Latvia is among the leaders in the EU, thanks to our hydro, currently not offshore wind yet. But when all these parks will be established and running, we'll have a surplus. And one of the benefits is also the proximity to these countries where there is a high energy demand. We have plans with Germany currently, with one specific grid that's intended to be developed and established at sea, and also other connection points. So we'll have energy as a resource, not only for our own consumption, but for exporting and doing other things, which provides then hydrogen technologies and other technologies. Yeah.
And it's all a bit of a trial and error method, right? When you look at Lithuania, I read that they have to relaunch the tender with amended conditions, so it's not that easy to find the right method.
Yes, of course. As in other countries, we have also seen successful and not so successful auctions of the parks. So yeah, the market is changing, so also the auctioning principles have to be adjusted and adapted to these new demands. And of course now also the developers want to see either CFD or some long-term agreements, energy purchase agreements, to have this assurance that there will be a business for them when building these parks. Yeah.
Ahead of this conference, you were talking to me about the Baltic Sea paradox. So you think that's actually not very logical, that there are not many projects in the Baltic Sea compared to the North Sea, right?
Yeah, when we look at both seas, it kind of seems, unlogical or the lacking the logic, because the Baltic Sea is more calmer with calmer waters, shallower depths, thus allowing to build and use fixed bottom these wind turbines. Thus also giving an advantage in terms of expenses, right? In contrast, the North Sea there are huge depths, there are harsh wind conditions, thus making it harder to build the wind parks. However, currently in the North Sea, there are 10 times more wind power or wind parks established and running than in the Baltic Sea. So if we look in the future, where does the opportunity lies, then maybe it's the Baltic Sea, because the North Sea had early mover advantage, so to say, because the first offshore wind parks were several years ago already. While the Baltic Sea is catching up, we are developing our grids, developing different grid connections and structures. So we are catching up, and I think that will be the next hotspot.
You were a bit earlier talking about the Elwyn project, a 2-gigawatt project, right? Tell us the latest about that.
So basically it's, as I mentioned, joint project between two countries. As far as I know, we are the second such project after the one between Denmark and Germany that was built several years ago. Why we do this together? Because within this project we are also developing another connection between the two countries. So this project allows us also to strengthen our connectivity and to establish an additional grid connection between the two countries. This is one approach. Another approach is also to, so to say, cut a path through the jungle so that the private developers, for them it's more easier, because we are, according to our experience, there are also legislation changes being made already, because we do see what's working, what's not working. But we won't be running these parks, of course. Both countries are pre-developing these parks, and we will auction both parks out in 2027 approximately. Currently there are studies going on. So there will be EIA finished, building permits ready, licensing ready, so basically everything for the developer to start building the parks. Because we do see that after the auctions are finished, not all parks are being actually built. So this is another aspect why we are doing this, to make sure that really after the auction there are wind parks built and there are no risks, or risks are minimized as much as possible for the developers.
So the topic of this panel is new opportunities arising around the globe. Many market participants present here at the trade fair will be wondering, what can we do in the Baltic countries? How can we help? What's your answer to that?
Well, one thing, of course, is to look into those opportunities, both if you're interested in and are representing the developer side. Another part is the hydrogen and related projects and industries around that. We still have capacities in our ports, so those who are manufacturing parts for the industry, there's again an opportunity to develop their projects and activities in the Baltic countries. And it's easy. We are small countries. We have everyone one phone call or one handshake away. It's easy to get around the table, all the ministers, all the responsible bodies, so that we can make decisions fast and pro-investors or pro-company, favorable for companies. So yes, that's I think is a huge advantage. We do not have huge bureaucracy and some procedures to be handled years and years.
Would you say, Gonçalo Santos, your internationalization coordinator at Portuguese Sea Cluster Forum Oceano, would you say that's also valid for your country? So not a lot of red tape.
Good afternoon. Yes, I believe so. We are also a small country, and the phone lines works very well. So it's also an easy place to make business, a very open economy, and it's very easy to make business in Portugal in every sector. So regarding Portugal...
Can you hold the microphone really close to you?
Sorry. Regarding Portugal, the first plan of the Portuguese national government was to make an audition for 10 gigawatts until 2030. It was not realistic, so now we went for a more realistic approach. So we will have until the end of the year, I believe. We believe so, because democracy has a very good thing, which is to have elections, but at the same time, when you have too many elections in a short period, makes the things harder. But at the same time, we believe that until the end of the year, we'll have the audition for 2 gigawatts. The work has been done until now. So, for example, we are doing now the detailed geophysics and geotechnical studies in order to facilitate the installation of the equipment. It's defined that it will be a tender, it will be a centralized sequential 2 stages model.
Can you lower your microphone a bit?
Sorry. I'm very Portuguese when I speak. I speak a lot with the arms.
I understand that.
I'll try to be quiet.
I'm protected against this because
it's easier.
Yeah.
Your life is easier. So it will be the first stage will be, of course, the allocation of the exclusive maritime area. The second stage will be the assignment of the grid capacity and the potential remuneration. The areas where we will have the offshore wind farms are defined. We are speaking about, especially in the north of Portugal, Viana, Leixões, and in the center, Figueira da Foz. We are speaking about 2,000, more or less, 2,700 square kilometers, with a potential of production of 9.5 gigawatts. So we'll start growing from the 2 gigawatts until 2030. For the 10 gigawatts, the ambition is still there, and the ambition is to achieve the 10 gigawatts by 2035. There's one good thing about Portugal when we speak about renewables energy. Portugal was classified in the 8th place by EY as the 8th most attractive country to invest in renewable energies. This is on land. We want to transfer this amazing results to the sea also.
You said too many elections are not a good thing. I counted 4 in 2 years, is that correct?
3.
3 in 2 years, right.
But now it's easier, I think now is...
That's all right then.
And there's a good thing is the government remains. So the first government was, was another party. They had this idea of 10 gigawatts. The new government, when arrive, they cut to 2 gigawatts. I think they have a much more realistic approach, and this government remains. So the strategy will not change. And what we want to do in Portugal is not only have the offshore wind farms, we want to develop a real ecosystem around the offshore wind farms. So this is not only about to have a production of energy, is also about creating an ecosystem. This is our biggest ambition.
That's where companies from abroad can come in, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We have 2 or 3 things that can be interesting. As we have a huge experience in renewables energies, we have I will say a very interesting education system. The number of young students graduated in areas that are important for the renewables is very, very high. So it's easy to find partnerships, it's easy to find people to work with, it's easy to find knowledge, and it's easy to mobilize the industry, especially when we speak about some kind of industry, of heavy industry. metal work and stuff like that, it's easy to mobilize this kind of industry to the offshore wind and other kind of renewable energy platforms. So, if I may say, the ambition of Portugal is big. We are a very small country with a big ambition. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not, but we have a clear, big ambition. The process is ongoing. Until the end of the year, I believe we will have the first tender going. As I told, Portugal has experience, people that know how to work with renewable energies, and this kind of open environment that makes easy to find partnerships and make business with.
And there are also opportunities in wave and tidal energy, which you're planning to develop.
I will not about wave energy, yes. About tidal energy, I don't think so as much. About wave energy, yes. We have, in fact, we are working for Oceano. We are working with a French company that want to install in Portugal a very innovative system for production of energy through the waves. We have also a pilot project in Portugal as a Portuguese a consortium with Portuguese companies in wave energy. So yes, especially in the north part of the country, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Let's now leap across the ocean and talk about Latin America. First with you, Adriana VARGAS-COLWILL.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
You work for UK-based consultancy OWC, and you have been following the Colombian market. That is, you've been advising a company that is now pre-qualified for an upcoming tender that will have a total capacity of between 1 and 3 gigawatts. Tell us a bit more about that process, where the country is at.
Okay, so in Colombia, as you mentioned, currently they're going through the area nomination phase. Within the current chronogram, this is expected to close at the end of July. However, there have been some challenges along the way, and it is believed that that period is going to be extended. Yeah. Okay, so we have a map here. So these are the areas of wind resource that have been identified in the northern part of Colombia. And then the current process is really focused on the central zone that you see here. So within the process, the qualified companies, which are 8 companies, one of them is a state company, and within a partnership there is another Colombian company. They are nominating and kind of doing studies for nominating them within the central zone. And then the government has also started studying those areas in order to grant a temporary permit, so these companies come and develop these areas.
And do you know when we might see the first floating or offshore wind turbines up and running there?
I think it's quite hard to say, but so the permit that these companies are going to be granted with is going to be for 8 years. Mm-hmm. So I think we can expect probably some sort of operation in around 8 to 10 years.
All right. And this is, I understand this is the first step, right, towards 7 gigawatt of installed offshore wind energy capacity in 2040. At least that's what the government is aiming for.
That is correct. As I mentioned, there have been some challenges. So, but I think in general, industry remains positive about the developments, and then we can actually see some of the projects realizing.
What are the challenges? You were also talking to me about, you know, as you said, lack of clarity, the grid connection, off-take mechanism. All these are things that still need to be worked out, right?
Yes, correct. So, so these companies are really expecting from the government and the authorities to really present some more guarantees for these projects to be profitable. So basically, securing the grid connection of these projects, information of what type of mechanism their government is going to implement just to make these projects viable, and some other kind of upgrades on infrastructure that will be required. So I think these are like key points that are keeping the companies on the edge really, and then just they are expecting really this confirmation from the authorities.
Can I ask you as well, to what extent Colombia needs foreign companies as to the supply chain, for example?
Yeah, so in terms of supply chain, there is an oil and gas offshore sector established in the country. However, it is some of those capacities will be transferable, but offshore wind, as we know, is a different matter. So yes, there are capabilities in terms of project management and engineering in the very earliest stages, but in terms of components, fabrication, the various vessels that are required for the various operations, installations, operations, commissioning, and so on, these are not being developed in the country, so that there is quite a lot of, let's say, supply chain challenges that the country will have to face. So there need to be some upgrades and some sort of investment really for the country to be able just to cope with these big projects coming in. And I think this is where we see opportunity for international companies with vast experience to come in. And then I think it's, we see it as positive, let's say, environment with the development of neighboring countries such as Brazil. So hopefully it's going to become like the next area of development for offshore wind, and then yeah, it will bring opportunities for established companies and industries as well.
So what you're saying is, to a certain extent, Colombia could become a hub for Latin America?
Yeah, I mean, the country, I think, is like completely supportive of the development of offshore wind. And then given the fact that in compared to maybe other neighboring nations, is more progressed, so this can become really that, that first, let's say, industry to develop locally. We as a company, OWC, we have done some other work and studies. We are also working in Brazil that you're going to be talking about. And we're also looking in, we have seen opportunities in Central America, Costa Rica. We're looking into other opportunities in the Caribbean. But definitely we see Colombia as that first country that might get offshore wind up and running.
Which takes us to you, Fernanda GUEDES. You're a new technology specialist at Brazil's Renewables Industry Association, Abeeolica.
Yeah.
Would you agree with what Adriana just said? Are you looking from Brazil? Are you looking towards Colombia?
Yes, exactly. In Brazil, we are not as advanced as Colombia. Things are moving now. This year, in January, we had the law signed by President Lula to set the rules for the auctions and also the usage rights. We have 700 gigawatts of potential in Brazil. It's enormous. We have 247 gigawatts, more than 247 gigawatts of projects registered in IBAMA. IBAMA is the Brazilian Institute for the Environment and Natural Resources, which shows the interest of the key global players of the companies in the country. We have signed agreements for pilot projects. Last week, we signed an agreement in the south of Brazil for a floating offshore wind pilot project. But to have the auctions and to start the industry, we need complementary regulation. We hope that until the end of this year, we will have it. So we can start the auctions end of 2026, start of 2027. And then, yes, we'll have 8 to 10 years to develop the project. So it was a great step that Brazil, with the signature of this law, it was a great step to move forward. But we need this regulatory framework to begin the development, the real development of the industry.
So it's quite contradictory, isn't it? You've got this huge potential, 700 gigawatt, and yet you're saying the government needs to do more to step on the gas. Are they doing that, actually? Are they trying to move forward?
Yes, totally. We have government support, but we also have some other bottlenecks, not only the regulatory framework. We have bottlenecks as for Colombia regarding the supply chain. We don't have local manufacturers for offshore wind. We don't have the offshore wind know-how in the country. We have a well-established oil and gas industry that could be adapted, but we don't have the offshore wind know-how. We have the onshore, but of course there are some specificities about the offshore wind that we don't have. So this is one of the bottlenecks that we see today. The second one is the costs, the high upfront costs, as we know that the offshore wind technology is expensive. It needs massive initial costs. And for Brazil, that is a nascent market. We know that it's an even higher challenge in our case. So there are some challenges to overcome in the next years.
So again, that's something that you could really, where international players could come.
Totally, yes. We need international players, we need investments. Brazil, as I said, we have a great potential. We have favorable wind conditions. It's a good place to invest. We just need this legal security with the regulatory framework. But of course, we need investments and we need the international expertise. As I said, we have the oil and gas expertise, we have the onshore, but we don't have the offshore know-how. So we need this transfer of knowledge from the international players.
And to what extent would you say your grid structure is adapted to taking in so much offshore wind energy in the future?
Sorry?
Your grid structure.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's another, thank you for remembering. It's another challenge. First thing, the offshore zones, they are far from the grid node, so we'll have to construct the offshore substations, installation of submarine cables, and all the infrastructure to distribute this energy produced offshore. And in Brazil, we are facing now a problem with the transmission of the electricity produced from renewable sources. So we have to modernize our grid. And to receive these new technologies as offshore, because for us it's new for Brazil, we have to modernize this infrastructure and also the digital part of our grid. So this is something that we'll have to overcome as well.
You also told me ahead of this conference that your country was looking into green hydrogen.
Yes, exactly.
To what extent do you have plans in place?
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, Brazil is preparing itself to be a key global player in the green hydrogen industry. We also have the signature of the law in August 2024. This law establishes certificate of origin for the hydrogen. Some tax incentives, financing mechanisms, and also the taxonomy for the green hydrogen. But as for offshore wind, we need this complementary regulation to have the full regulatory framework. We also need the off-takers for this green hydrogen. We also need the transmission infrastructure, the modernization of this transmission infrastructure. But yes, it's also an industry that is advancing. We have MOUs, dozens of MOUs signed between companies and states for the development of pilot projects. Many companies, they are already developing projects for hydrogen. But again, we need this complementary regulation to set the rules, for example, for the environmental licensing of the project. So yes, we are for both offshore and green hydrogen. We are a really good market, and certainly we're going to explode in the next years.
We all hope for that.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask a last question. I know that these youngish, freshish markets that you represent are probably looking at all the established markets, but would you say that there's also a lot of contact between, I don't know, Colombia and Brazil? Are you looking at other markets that are trying to establish themselves, and are you exchanging experiences between you?
You want to answer?
Well, I can say that at least from our services, of course, we use the experience and expertise from other markets in order to come into these emerging markets and advise them. But we know that from our clients that, yes, of course, they are looking into what Europe has done, what is the experience in Asia, in order just to come and apply some of those lessons learned. So I think that this is really happening.
Would you like to comment?
Yeah, we are of course talking a lot with other countries, and we have already learned a lot. So yeah, of course, experience and do's and don'ts help a lot.
Right, okay. Well, thank you very much for participating, all of you, and thank you for listening. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.